In this video, we're going to look at the two Latin words iste, ista, istud, and quīdam, quaedam, quoddam. Both are presented in the grammar for 4a on pages 197 through 98. Let's first talk about demonstratives one more time for a moment. The verb demonstro in Latin means to point out. Demonstratives are words that point, like this or that in English. We might in English say this dog to point to this dog, or that dog to point to that dog. This and that are demonstratives in English. Your book is now formally introducing the demonstrative iste, ista, istud. We already talked a bit about iste, ista, istud in this class, so some of this will be review, but this is an important topic, so please pay attention. In English, this is used for things near the first person. That is used for things near the second or third person. Let me show you what I mean. Here are three English speakers. Here is Robin Hood. Here is a man with an umbrella. And here is a British bobby. Robin Hood here is talking to the man with the umbrella. Robin Hood, from his perspective, from the perspective of Robin Hood, is the first person. The man with the umbrella, from Robin Hood's perspective, is the second person. And this person here, the bobby, who is uninvolved in the conversation, is the third person from Robin Hood's perspective. So, when Robin Hood is speaking to the man with the umbrella, when he talks about the dog near him, he calls it this dog. When he talks about the dog near the man with the umbrella, who is the second person, he says that dog. And when he talks about the dog near the third person, the bobby, he says that dog as well. So English has two demonstratives. This for things near the first person, that for things near the second person and third person. Latin instead has three demonstratives that are used like English, this and that. Hic, haec, hoc for things near the first person. Iste, ista, istud for things near the second person. And ille, illa, illud for things near the third person. By the way, here is the declension of iste, ista, istud. If you memorized ille, illa, illud, it's really easy because they decline exactly the same way. Here is ille, illa, illud, and its endings are exactly the same as those for iste, ista, istud. So if you've memorized one, you've memorized the other. Let's see how these three demonstratives are used. Here is a cranky poet, who is the first person. He's talking to this kind poet here, who is the second person. So the cranky poet is talking to the kind poet. From the cranky poet's perspective, he is the first person, and the kind poet is the second person. Up here is a satyr. The satyr, from the perspective of the cranky poet, is the third person, because he is talking to the kind poet here. Let's see how the three demonstratives work. If the cranky poet mentions the dog near him, he will say hic canis, this dog. If he mentions the dog near the second person, he will say iste canis, that dog. And if he mentions the dog near the third person, he will say ille canis. So, hic is for the first person, iste is for the second person, and ille is for the third person. So here are some facts to know. Hic, haec, hoc is the demonstrative of the first person, iste, ista, istud is the demonstrative of the second person, and ille, illa, illud is the demonstrative of the third person. Now remember, in English we have only two demonstratives. This covers the first person, but that is used for both the second person and the third person. So English and Latin do this a little bit differently. In the grammar for 4a, you are introduced to an important word, quīdam, quaedam, quoddam. Quīdam, quaedam, quoddam is an adjective that is usually translated a certain or certain, as for instance in servus quīdam, a certain slave, serve quaedam, which equals certain women, plural, or militem quendam vidi, I saw a certain soldier, I saw a certain soldier. In Latin, When a new character or thing is mentioned for the first time, it often is accompanied by a form of quīdam, quaedam, quoddam. So, when Roman speakers are speaking, or when they're writing, or when they're talking, and they mention something for the very first time that hasn't been mentioned before, they frequently use this word to tell whoever is listening to them or reading them that the thing that they are talking about has not been mentioned before. That is the primary function of quīdam, quaedam, quoddam. It indicates that a new element, a new person, or a new thing has been added to a narrative. If you remember how to decline qui, quae, quod, the interrogative adjective, it's easy to decline quīdam, quaedam, quoddam. It's just qui, quae, quod plus dam. Here is qui, quae, quod, which we learned long ago. And if you add the syllable dam to it, you get the forms of quīdam, quaedam, quoddam. There is one little hitch. Of course, M turns to N before D. The form for qui, quae, quod in the masculine accusative singular is quem, but of course the Romans can't say MD, so they have to change the quem to quen, quendam. Similarly, quam in the feminine accusative singular of qui, quae, quod, quam becomes quandam, and in the genitive plural, quoddam becomes quorundam, and quoddam, ending in an M, becomes quorandam, and quorundam is again from quoddam plus dam. We saw this before with the word idem, eadem, idem. One final thing. According to the rules you just learned, the neuter nominative and accusative singular of quīdam, quaedam, quoddam should be quoddam. However, sometimes you'll see the form quīdam in place of quoddam.
The end. This has been a Barking Blue Heeler production.